it's not that Nintendo's going to go away, but I think their hardware sales could become a lot softer then.
I still don't think that the Steam Deck will make much of a dent in Nintendo's bottom line.
No, I don't think it won't.
Yeah, I don't think it'll really make any difference.
Yeah.
I
don't know.
I don't
or
think
at least I have a hard time believing it'll make any difference whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because Nintendo fans are nuts.
Yeah.
And also, like, kids and stuff use the Switch, right? And they're not going to be on, like...
No, I would never give a kid a Steam Deck. No,
but also they're not going to be on like forums like trying to figure out how to get this game that's not Steam Deck compatible to fucking work on the Steam Deck.
What
they're
package
gonna be like,
manager do you
this
use?
thing doesn't work, or they can just put Mario in their Switch and just go. You know, they're running. They're good to go. Like they don't. Yeah, I don't see. I feel like the Steam Deck, yes, while cool, is very very specific market, whereas Nintendo targets like younger, but also like older a little bit. It's a little bit of everybody.
I'm going to double back on what I said because you're right. And I was actually thinking about it today. The Steam Deck is interesting in that like it's a device that it's like, wow, this is great for like the PC gamer on the go. But at the end of the day, if you don't leave your house that much, like you don't travel that much, and
it's a multitasking device.
It's not only a multitasking device, but it's like I was sitting here in my office trying to justify, like, all right, if the Steam Deck is on this TV and my PC is right next to it, what are the odds that every time I sit down and I go to play something, I'm going to be like, all right, time to dock the Steam Deck, get a controller out, and play it on the TV if it's not going to run at 4K or whatever. Like, at that point, no, I am going to do what I've been doing with Hollow Knight. I am going to play it on the Switch because it looks great it looks better on an OLED Switch than it will running on the Steam Deck. And I just have to throw it in the dock, and like it's just easier to use that. Like I do wonder if I get this thing in like 6 months after the fact, I'm like, why do I even own this?
I'm telling you, that's why I got rid of mine, because I was like, I seriously doubt that I will be even playing this thing for a long time. And also just the more stuff comes out, it's like the more like hassle it seems to be, which like I always kind of like tweaking with that stuff, but these days I'm like, man, I just want it to work. I want to boot up, I want to boot up my game and just play it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to have to sit here and like tinker with it.
That's what I want to do too, but I also want something that runs things better. Like that's the thing. And like I'm definitely not I'm actually kind of surprised, Chris, to hear you talk about docking it, because I don't think I'm ever gonna dock it.
Yeah, but you never dock your Switch either.
Yeah, pretty much not.
Yeah, like for you, it makes sense. Because
if I was gonna play on a screen, why wouldn't I just use an Xbox Series X or my PS5?
The save,
because
honestly,
they're way more powerful.
It's the save file, because this is what I was thinking about. Was like in a Portal is what got me thinking about it. It was like, all right, if let's say I'm playing the Steam Deck, and I get I play for 2 hours or whatever. I have that save on there.
Yeah,
and I'm like, all right, I'm done playing. I want to get the best experience possible on a 4K TV. Putting the Steam Deck in there is not it. And then it's like, all right,
no way.
If I want to use that save, I have the living room PC. I could boot it up on there. And then I'm like, well, then I got to like dick around with the controller and make sure that it like works the same way and are the drivers installed. Yeah. And like I'm thinking about it as I'm doing it. I'm like, no. If I ever wanted to play Portal again on a modern console, I would wait for the port that they're putting out for Switch. I would buy that and then I'd be done with it and I would move on with my life. Like it'd be like $20, fine, whatever. And like I know I would just have that available to me because it's just easier. And that's so weird to think about.
That's why I want the Switch too, is because I love that convenience. It runs things generally pretty well, but sometimes it just doesn't run things well enough.
Oh no, and it wouldn't be every title. Like I'm not gonna play Deathloop on Switch. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I definitely agree. Like there would be some things where I would be like, oh yeah, like I'll like, because right now I'm like, I want to buy some of the Mega Man collection games. Like I want to buy like, what is it? The Mega Man X collection, the Mega Man X2 collection.
They're like all on sale right now.
Yeah, so I was just like, I haven't played these games in a really long time. Do I want to buy these? Do I want to buy them on Steam so I can play them on Steam Deck? Do I want to buy them somewhere else? And like those games will run really well on Switch. Like that's not a problem. And I could pop it in the dock and play them with the Pro controller, which isn't bad. You know, it's not. I don't love it, but the Pro controller is definitely not bad. And that would be fine. But you know, if I want to play Dark Souls Remastered or something like that, it's on there, but like I don't know that it runs as well as I would want it to. Like, does it run at 60 frames? Probably not.
On what?
On Switch. Do you have Dark Souls Remastered on Switch?
Why would it? No.
I was trying to. I feel like somebody was telling me.
No, the reason I asked, I wanted you to clarify is like, now imagine that. I don't know. There's no good answer for this because it's not like I can just like, it's not like I can magic like the magic bullet is the Steam Deck because it's not. Like I can grab certain games and be like, Doom? No, I wouldn't play that on Switch because it probably runs like shit. You know, locked 30.
I've heard
locked
it runs
30, but 30.
Surprisingly well.
Well, yeah, but like it's 30. Like if you're used to playing it 120 or whatever, it's like get the fuck out of here. With the Steam Deck, it's like, no, I would never. Well, like it's that kombucha girl moment of like, would it work? I don't know. I mean, like it's not that demanding, but like it's more powerful. And like, and then you start going through that whole thing.
It's also 720, and it's like yeah, the screen's like what? Isn't it? It's like 720 the screen.
What on the Steam Deck?
Yeah,
it's like 12. And it's 800p, I think.
Okay.
I know it's like a 16 by 10 display.
Okay.
Let me look.
So it's got a higher resolution than the Switch, right?
It does. I mean, yeah. It does, but
it's also more powerful.
No, not what I was going to say.
Is it not?
It is more powerful. Not what I was going to say. It's 1280 by 800. The screen is a slightly higher resolution, but it's bigger, so the image is more stressed out. So it's a bigger. It's less of a pixel density than the Switch is. So if you were to put like a title that runs on Switch on I'm gonna call out Switch OLED because that's what I've been using and I think it looks fucking amazing. If you
put more readable on the Steam Deck, but it would look better on the Switch.
Yeah, like you would look at the Switch and be like, that looks so much better just because of the display technology. Like, but that's
if
the only
text
reason.
Is small, like that could still be a problem.
Sure, but that's gonna be a problem on any handheld that doesn't like take that into consideration. Like. For sure. Civ on the Steam Deck, like the text could be way too small. You know what I mean?
You wouldn't want to do that.
Right. I am fascinated by this, and I'm kind of settling into the fact that like this might fix some of my problems while introducing others.
It will definitely introduce others.
Yeah. But I'm interested to see where I end up falling down. Like if I do prefer the just kind of set it and forget it, and like sometimes the games don't perform that well of the Switch. Or if I prefer it has all the games that I have on PC, and since I get a lot of review codes for PC, that's going to make it way easier for me to do all the stuff that I want to do. Like because even so, like the idea of having a handheld, PC that I don't have to get rid of a bunch of other stuff that's running on it. This is just for games. It's not my laptop. It's way more portable than my laptop. I can just sit down on the couch, watch a show and play something, and like I'll have like Vampire Survivors in my hands, and I'll just have that going, and I'll do that while I'm doing something else, and it'll just be ready to go.
Chris does have a good point though that it has to run on Linux.
Friend of the show, John, aka Smoke in the chat. I've been happy with my Steam Deck so far. Got mine on Friday, and I've been playing Final Fantasy X and Guacamelee 2.
Nice. That
is good to hear, John. Have you played any like really intense games that you would look at and be like, this definitely wouldn't run on the Switch? I ask because both of those games have ports on Switch, and I think they both run really well. So I would expect those games to run like without a hitch on the Steam Deck for sure. And I know we're splitting hairs, like we definitely are. Yeah, I think it is going to introduce way more problems. Like, here's what I'm expecting is we both get the Steam Deck and I start getting like the random Discord messages from you at like 10 a.m. on a Wednesday, and you're like, so I'm trying to do this thing. Like, how did you get this? Like, what did you have to install to get this working? And I'm just like, I'm in a meeting. Like, what do you want? Like, go on Reddit. I don't know. Like,
hey, it's gonna happen.
I know.
It's gonna happen. But yeah, like I am curious. Like, I've heard that Elden Ring runs really well on it, which is like about as modern.
They patched it.
Yeah, it's about as modern.
Yeah,
as,
not
as
every
else,
game's gonna get a patch.
Yeah,
sure. You know, but
and I'm not trying to poo-poo on it. Like, I'm buying this thing. I'm very excited to dick around with it and have my own opinion of it.
Yeah, I want all of Brian's dreams to come true.
I do too.
You
guys are sweet.
I just have reservations on it.
Yeah.
Not anymore. You don't. Hey.
Hey.
Yeah.
But yeah.
No.
Yeah. Let's stop talking about this because this was definitely not
a rabbit hole.
Spent a lot of time on this.
Not
but
the
like,
subject. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like that. It's been a thing where I've just been thinking about. I've been thinking a lot about like the identities of the different platforms and how things have evolved since the different acquisitions have come through. Like, I love Arcane. Like, I love these other, developers that have been acquired by Xbox and like PlayStation. I've loved for a long time, but like a lot of the IPs that I really love, they've kind of abandoned. And so I'm just like, is there anything that is like I have to have moving on into different generations? I was trying to think of, I was remembering something that Audrey said, which was kind of like a morbid thing. She's like, yeah, if anything ever happens to you, I'm getting whatever the next Xbox is. Like, because she was like not a gamer before, but now she's like big into Halo.
Yeah.
So like whenever Halo comes out, she's gonna get whatever it plays on. She's got her own Series X now, and season 2 is out for Halo Infinite and stuff. And I was just thinking, like, what is that for me? Like, what's the stuff that like I'm always gonna get? And I think Halo is one, and I think Mario like is probably one also, specifically 2D Marios.
Yeah.
But I was just like, nothing else is really getting carried forward. Like, it's not like a new 2D Castlevania game would be like platform specific. It's not like,
well, no,
any of the stuff that I would really, really want, you know what I mean? That I can like bank on in the future. And I was just kind of like, yeah. And I guess a lot of that stuff comes to PC. Like, a lot, if I don't mind waiting, like a lot of the Sony stuff, a lot of the Xbox stuff is going to PC, is going to Steam even. And I was just like, yeah, if I got a PC and a Switch or whatever Nintendo's doing, I'll probably be all right. You
probably will.
But yeah, it's I don't like how fussy PC stuff can be from time to time, but generally just booting up Switch and just firing up a game is easy, So I don't want the fidgetiness of the Steam Deck, but I like the idea of like having more of my library available there. Sure. Specifically because I've been focused on growing my PC library over my other stuff.
I do feel like the fidgetiness, or whatever we're calling it, will probably only come with bigger games. Like, I bet you just booting up something like Vampire Survivors will run flawlessly. Like, it'll just be fine, right? Because it's
that
like
feels
2D.
Like that would run on a donut.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I imagine a lot of those games, a lot of the indie games will be perfectly fine. I bet it's stuff like, Control or Doom or Red Dead Redemption, if that ever came to it, or whatever, things like that, like Dark Souls and stuff, like those bigger experiences. I feel like you will probably have to have the developers do some kind of work, or you're going to have to like rely on the community of people saying, hey, these are the best settings I got, like on my Steam Deck, like by turning this like anti-aliasing to this and the resolution to this or whatever, I managed to get 60 frames in Dark Souls, and then you'll have to do that yourself.
So,
but I don't mind
doubt like a lot
settings as long as I don't need to like install a new OS or like
no, it won't be like that.
Stuff.
No, and I was actually listening to an interview with Gabe Newell this weekend where he talks about, why they don't, why they eventually stop like creating content or like creating new versions of like things that they've released. So like, remember the Team Fortress 2 conversation we had where They seem to be very focused on like, okay, here's a product. This is like the base of it. You know, release it out into the wild, get it as finely tuned as you can, and then leave it to the community to do whatever they need to do, because the majority of the time they're going to, like, the internet is going to outsmart even like Valve. Like, they're going to think of better things and like better optimizations. What I would imagine they're going to do at some point, or it would make sense for them to do, is be like, all right, community members can make profiles in specific games that, and then they can somehow, and it would probably be like a future title thing, but like they could then export them and be like, hey, if you want, if you care less about graphics and more about frame rate, like these are the settings, like just download this config file. And then people could probably like vote on it. Like that seems like a system that would make sense with that, and people I think would dick around with.
They had like Steam Workshop different stuff.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
That brings me back to the problem with that, because that all sounds great on paper, but then when we go back to my Team Fortress 2 conversation, it's been 2 years and they still haven't fixed major problems with that game. Major problems that the community cannot fix themselves.
Sure.
And they just don't care. So it's like, when does that happen to the Steam Deck? And they're like, well, it's not our problem now because we don't support it anymore.
Right.
Like,
that's
but how quick does that happen? Because
that's literally any product suffers from that.
Sure.
But I get what you're saying.
I have this bad feeling like in the next 4 years or so, like they just won't care anymore, because they'll be on to the next thing. They're like, oh, we've pioneered a new way for you to do whatever the hell, right? Yeah, and they just won't care, right?
There was
I don't know. I have this worry about it.
No, I get that. There one last thing on this. There was a tweet that Jess like, and she never does this. She was like, out of nowhere, pulled her phone out and was just like, how many people that own the Steam Deck have actually played a game all the way through, and how many of them are actually just sitting there booting up a game, seeing if it starts, playing for 20 minutes and moving on, like,
and then going, wow, that runs great, and then never actually,
and then never like actually just playing something on it.
Yeah, like having the experience of just playing a game.
Yeah.
Right?
Fast forward to 2 months from now, when I've beaten 12 games on my Steam Deck, and Chris's rage against me has never been hotter.
Yep.
When I'm just cranking through, I've like beaten up my entire backlog on the Steam Deck, and I'm just like, this. Probably not gonna happen.
Again, I want you to have everything that you want, but I am worried. Interested. I am worried about it a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm so intrigued to know how I'm gonna feel about it, because I have no idea.
Part of the reason for me even forsaking it was like just because of that. It was like, A, how much am I gonna actually play this, and B, like if they don't abandon it, I can just get one later.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not like they're releasing this one time and then never releasing more ever again. Especially if it's
0 out of 1,500 type of a situation.
Yeah. So I'm sort of just like, I'll come back to this.
Yeah.
I'll come back to this later. We'll see.